the Titans, the division is ours. I don't care what Houston did yesterday. They're going to go get their Letterman jackets again. The Indianapolis Colts are 2-6 against the Titans since Pat McAfee came up here and did his wrestling announcement. And the Jacksonville Jaguars, they haven't had back-to-back winning seasons since I was a senior in high school.
What's up, Titans fans, and welcome to another episode of Titans Fan Battle Podcast, brought to you by the Fan Battle Sports Network. With me tonight are two special people. You guys should know him by now, but just in case you're new to the show or it's your first time watching the show, my man, go ahead and introduce yourself, Court.
Cortland Griffin, Titans reporter. Sports journalist, and I guess a friend of the show now. Is that fair to say?
Yes, absolutely. I would like to say honorary co-host.
Hey, I'll accept it.
All right, and with us again, with us for the first time, we have a special guest tonight. We've got Mr. Jake Robinson from Glory Day Sports. Go ahead and introduce yourself, man.
Yeah, so I'm basically your standard fanalist for the Titans. Big on Twitter, write for Glory Day Sports. It's my little website over there. Come check us out.
All right. Yeah, that's where I found you at, is on Twitter, to be honest with you. I'm going to be real with you. I didn't know.
Most people do.
Yeah, I looked up the Glory Day Sports, though. You got some really great articles on there. Was a fan of a couple.
So me and Jake, we have exchanged tweets before. So I was like, that sounds familiar, and I can't think of where we've actually exchanged tweets before.
That's my second home. That's where I definitely live, and that's where most of my content ends up going.
Your content is very good, sir. If I do say so
back
myself.
at you.
I agree. That's why I asked him to be on the show. You know, I mean, it's not just every Titans fan that I'm asking to be on the show. You know what I mean? You got to be a special guy, to get on my show. But anyway, so tonight we're gonna cover. You know, we're all excited, I'm sure, for game week. You know, we're so close right now. I mean, I think everybody is just seething. I know I am. I'm just dying to see what we look like when we're for real. But we're gonna do some schedule predictions. We're also gonna do some, leader predictions. Some individual predictions, and then we're gonna go into the fan segment like we normally do, and let you guys give out your shout outs or whatever. No, my dude, he used to be he was my original co-host, and he's gonna be back, I'm sure, when the school lets him, when his job allows him to come back. I'm sure he'll be back. But we'll do the fan segment, do the fan questions and all that stuff, and go from there. But to start off, we're going to do schedule predictions. I'm sure you guys have run through this. I've actually done it twice now, but I figure right before the season, we've kind of seen a little bit of everything and got a better idea of what we might actually look like even though we haven't seen much of the starters on offense. But, that's my thing, but whatever. I'm going to let that go. So the way I'd like to do this, the way I'd like to set this up is I'll start off and I'll give you my pick for the Saints game. And then y'all can tell me whether you agree or disagree and why. And then we'll go to Jake for the Chargers. And then we'll go to Cortland for the Browns. and then we'll come back to me, and we'll just kind of do like a little rotational thing. That way we get through this a little bit quicker, I think.
Gotcha.
Because I mean, the real meat and taters comes down to the individuals, right? So anyway, Saints, I think honestly, we have a horrible habit of starting off the season with a loss. We've done it the last couple of years in a row, even though we've had great teams the last couple of years. Well, except for last year, maybe, but always lose the first game. But I say we break that this year, and I think Derek Carr's a little too new. No Kamara, Alvin Kamara. Sorry guys, sorry UT fans. But yeah, so agree or disagree, Jake?
I do disagree. I think the Titans have had great success against Derek Carr in the past. I believe he's only won one game against us playing for the Raiders. And when we look how this team matches up with the Saints, I think we match up really well. I know we're coming into the underdogs, and we know we love that, especially week one. We're hoping to get that Cleveland Browns game that we had in week one a couple years back where they had all the hype. Baker's coming into his sophomore season. He's about to break out, and we slaughtered that team. That's what I'm hoping for. I predict we're going to win a tight game in this, but I do think we're going to get over that week one slump.
Awesome.
Yeah, I agree with Jake. Just looking at the Saints, as great as that team on paper looks, right? Alvin Kamara, Derek Carr, Michael Thomas properly coming back, Tyquan Lewis. There's a lot of things that are in the works for that team as well, right? Kamara is out. Tyquan Lewis is on the not Tyquan. I'm sorry, Traquan.
Yeah.
Traquan Lewis or whatever his last name is. Doesn't matter. He plays for the opposing team. But like he's on the trade block. There's talks of him possibly being shipped out, so that there's that, right? And then that defense, for all of their parts, right? They're missing some pass rushers and things of that nature as well. So I got us as a win. So starting out 1-0.
I agree.
Thank you. I'm happy to be back.
Jake, you want to go ahead and take away the Chargers for us?
For sure. So I think this Chargers game, we've had some success since Vrabels came against Chargers. I do have this going down as an L. I see a emerging Justin Herbert, and I think he's going to absolutely break out this season and jump into that upper echelon as the quarterbacks go. And I think the secondary might struggle a little bit with a healthy Mike Williams. And then we got Quentin Johnston coming in, and the Keenan Allen is the epitome of just getting out there and getting the job done. I think we're going to struggle with that. And then Austin Ekeler, they've got a great offense. And I think we're going to get into a shootout with them. And ultimately, I think they come out ahead of that.
Court?
I have it as a loss, but I have this as one of those winnable losses. Justin Herbert, for all the breakout that I think he's going to have this year, I have him as my top number 5 coming into the season. Top 5 quarterback in the league. I don't think you can really argue with it. As far as some people will try. I've heard the Brock Purdy over Justin Herbert argument, and it's crazy. But that guy could possibly pass for 6,000 yards this year. Like, it's quite possible.
Yeah.
I think the best thing about this game, the reason I have it as winnable, is we have a healthy contingent of pass rushers this year, which we didn't have last year. And we also have a healthy secondary this year. We have guys that can match up with Mike Williams, whereas we had McCreary, who's 5'9" on a good day, right? Matching up against 6'4", 6'5", and that's never a good day. So I have it as a winnable loss, but I think I agree with Jake. Comes down to a field goal, I believe, and I think they get the best of us in that one.
Yeah. So again, I mean, I have it down as a win because I'm an optimist. But to be honest, this is one of my flex games. I think it honestly could go either way. They have a very high-powered offense. We have I think, an extremely good pass rush. So I think those two are really who comes out on top on that, I think, is what's going to tell the tale of the game.
And the offensive line for LA is very shaky at best. So
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I feel like we're going to be able to eat them alive in that game. I think we'll probably, I think that's when people will start to take notice that, holy crap, the Titans have a really, really good pass rush. But you want to go ahead and take the Browns now?
So yeah. Oh, was it on me or?
Yeah, no, you, Court.
Yeah, it's on me.
Right.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I have this as a W, man. Deshaun Watson, right, is going into his first full offseason, right? And for everything that they have on that offense, right? Amari Cooper, Elijah Morris is trying to establish himself as a number 2 in the league. They have speed on that offense, but we have speed on defense. The offensive line, DeJuan Jones looks like a man amongst boys out there at the tackle position. But the other side is where the question lies, right? And you still have to worry about Danico Autry. He may shut off one side of the field as far as our pass rush goes, but then that other side of the field in the middle, you have to worry about Jeff, Danico, Pierre, Naquan Jones, and that contingency that we can just kind of run out 2 full starting lineups of defensive linemen to kind of come after Deshaun Watson. And if Christian can stay, Fulton can stay healthy, then Amari Cooper is almost mitigated, right? Because when he's healthy, he's about as good as any corner in the league. And then the Kevin Byard and those guys, of course, being over the top. I love Azeez Al-Shire. I love what he brings as far as middle linebacker goes and what his coverage ability as well. He showed that the preseason action, the only preseason action he had. So I got this as a win, and I think we win handily. We always play well against the Browns for some reason. I think we handled it this one.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree with that. I've got it down as a win, and that's not because I'm being optimistic. I feel like the Browns got some offense, but not enough. And that's just the way I feel about it. I'll keep it brief. You want to go ahead and take any? You got any notes on that one, Jake?
Yeah, so I think this is a game that is going to be won or lost in the trenches. With Myles Garrett going up against a Andre Dillard or a Chris Hubbard, we're assuming at this point, by that point in the season, this is going to be a low-scoring affair that I think is made by a couple big plays. Having Treylon break a long bomb or DeAndre catch a contested catch in the end zone. I ultimately, with all of us agreeing on this one for the first time, I wholeheartedly agree that we beat this team.
All right. Yay. We got an agreement that we're all going to beat the Browns. Well, that one's kind of a gimme. So, well, we come to my first L of the season, the Bengals. Unfortunately, we have an amazing pass rush, but we've seen before that really is not enough to beat the Bengals. And I'm a prove it guy. I hate it, but it comes with its benefits and its drawbacks. And one of the drawbacks is I don't believe we will beat the Bengals until we do. So until we beat them, I'm going to count it as a loss. I hate to say it, but Burrow's on fire. That offense is electric. Jamar Chase, God bless, T. Higgins, Hawkinson. There's more. I'm just not. I'm not.
They have a plethora of weapons up there.
I was just about to say a plethora of people to throw the ball to. Yeah. But yeah, if you want, you got anything to add to that, Jake?
I also have this down as an L. We know Joe Burrow has been the Titans' kryptonite, ultimately. Even if we get to that quarterback 9 times, we know that man can still beat us. And who is going to line up on Jamar? Is it going to be Fulton? Is it going to be SMB? Is it going to be Rodgers? And we know whoever it's going to be probably isn't good enough at this point in time. So we would have to come out swinging. And I do have faith in Vrabel that we could win this game. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, I do have this going down as a big L at this point in time.
It's an L for me, but I don't think that's a bad L, right? First 4 weeks of the season. If you're starting the season 2-2, well, we've started seasons 1-4, 2-5. We've started seasons pretty slow. If you recall, we started the season, I think 1-4, but we ended up 13-3 at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So this being an L early in the season, you're still trying to work out kinks. It's not that bad, right? The Bengals catch a team that's got some new pieces, and new coordinator, offensive coordinator. I do think that there's a glimmer of hope, though. The Bengals still can't stop the run. And Derrick Henry, and you still have now Tajay Sharp. Not Tajay Sharp, sorry.
I do that too,
I did
man.
the exact same thing on Twitter earlier
so
this week.
hard. Yeah.
Tajay Spears. I'm so sorry. Same initials, not the same thing. But Tajay Spears, right, who's also behind him, and then Julius Chestnut. So you can throw 3 guys on the field and pound the rock and keep Burrow off the field. So there is a option. I still have it as an L. I think they beat us by I have this as I think it happens as 10-point underdogs in that game. But I don't think that that's an indictment against Tennessee. That team's just that talented. They've been in the AFC Championship, I think, every year that Burrow's been healthy, right? The only other team that can say that is the Chiefs. So,
yeah, to be honest, if they keep this up, they're going to become a rival.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they were at one point. We were AFC Central. Well, no, they were in the AFC North, I believe.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah.
We got to come out with a couple wins to make this a rivalry, though.
We got to make this. So yeah, I got it as an L, but right now I got it starting at 2-2. I don't think that's a bad start for Tennessee at all.
I don't either. I've got us at 3-1, but I understand
that too.
Yeah. So let's see. Yep, we're back to the Colts, I think, with Jake.
Yeah, the Colts. This is a rivalry, and this team can get off our page at this point in time. I was a big fan of AR coming out in the draft, but this is a player that's gonna need reps and ultimately to get to that potential. And this early in his young career, I do not think he is there. And even further in the season down the line, we're not sure if he's going to be there either. So ultimately, I have this as the first big blowout of the season in favor of the Titans. I think we could hang 30, 40 points on this team and really set the tone in the AFC South going forward.
Do you want to go, Max?
Yeah, no, you go for it, man. We're doing like a little.
I have it as a W. I think it's fair to say that you can mark both the Colts game as W. Just because I think the second game of the season the second time we face them will be a little bit tougher because it's a divisional game. But like you said, Anthony Richardson, for all of the great things that he showed in the preseason, he's still a guy who only completed, I think, 40-something% of his passes, under 50% in college. Right? These in preseason, it's always going to look better. It's always going to look great because teams are playing vanilla defenses. But once you start to see Bowen and Vrabel throw those coverages out there, that amoeba front that they like to run every now and again, where Jeff is standing up and Teair Tart decides to play middle linebacker and drop back in a curl flat zone, right? Like, and he's bringing all of this pressure. I think that gets to Anthony Richardson. Like you said, I think it's a blowout. I don't quite say 30, 40 points. I think it's going to be like a 2 to 3 touchdown blowout, but still, regardless, it's a big one for Tennessee.
Yeah, I agree, man. And I've been waiting a while to say this, but I think it's pretty safe to say that the Colts are going to be the worst team in the AFC South this year at the end of the season.
That's fair.
My cousins are huge Colts fans, and I live really close to Knoxville, so a lot of the people around here, when they root for a pro team, they root for the Colts because of Peyton Manning, who played, 10 years ago? It's very frustrating for me as a Titans fan. So,
Jesus Christ, it's been 10 years.
I have a very big hatred for the Colts. And, my cousins like to rub it in my face every time, Anyway, it's a win. We all three agree on that. And I agree totally with Speaking Southern here. Yeah, that's fantastic. Yes, Titans forever as well. Yes. All right. So sorry, I get a little I'm a little passionate with when my people start chiming in. So that comes to our home game, Cortland, in Europe. So take it away.
So this is going to sound crazy, right? I have us alternating the first 8 weeks wins and losses. I have this as a loss. I believe that game is against the
Ravens.
Yes, the Ravens. Not going to budge off a pick. I got the Ravens in the AFC Championship game. Not going to budge off of that. I just think that they are going to be supremely talented. Lamar Jackson now has weapons, and it's fair to say that for everything that we said about the Chargers, you can also apply that to the Ravens, right? Odell Beckham Jr., Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, Mark Andrews. Then in the backfield, you got J.K. Dobbins and probably the most electric runner with the football at the quarterback position, Lamar Jackson. We beat him up as a rookie, right? Or second-year player, I should say, right, in the playoffs 1 year. Then he came back and torched us for a game-winning touchdown, right, in the playoffs again to knock us out. And I think he catches his stride again this year. I just think at this point in the season, the defense is going to be riding high after beating the Colts. And sometimes, as we all know, watching Tennessee Titans football, once after a big win, we generally come out and we get a little bit ahead of ourselves. And we let a team get on top of us and we can't get them back off. So I have this as a loss. And I have this being our first big loss of the year after a big win in Europe.
I will say this. I don't know if it was you or Mike Patton that I had on the show that week, but the week I did the first roster prediction someone brought something to my attention that I did not know, that the Ravens were going to be in Europe for basically 2 weeks. And the second week was when they played us, which means that they're not going to have any jet lag and they're not going to have any issues. Yes, they're going to be acclimated to the weather. So I mean, a lot of that stuff does make a difference, especially when you're, leaving Thursday and playing Sunday.
And I think this is our second or third game in Europe. So, we haven't played over there as much as some of the other teams in the league. Miami's played over there, I think, 4 times. New York has played. Both New York teams, I think, have played over there 2 or 3 times. Of course, Jacksonville is trying to essentially relocate to Belfast, Ireland. So
what's funny is that they swear that they're like the most popular team in Europe or whatever, and it's like no, they just get to play in Europe a lot. It's not that they're the most popular. You look over the numbers and it's pretty.
So we'll see what happens. That game, like I said, I have that as our biggest loss. I think we're going to lose by double digits.
I do agree that it is going to be a loss. But go ahead, Jake, if you've got anything to throw in on that.
No, we are on lockstep on this one. I have Lamar taking this game over and ultimately beating us down. This is a home game on paper, but we know it is not. So ultimately, I do see us falling to the Ravens. And ultimately, I have us at 3-3 after that. So
yeah,
same.
All right, so let's see. You did the Ravens. So all right, so I guess it's me back on the Falcons, and look, I'm gonna be kind of blunt here. I love Arthur Smith. I have the utmost respect for the man. Love what he's doing with the Falcons right now, but it looks like he's basically mirroring what he did with the Titans. And it's kind of obvious that that's what's going on. Anyway, I think Vrabel's got his number. To be short about it, I don't want to get too long and crazy into these explanations, but yeah, I think that Vrabel has Arthur Smith's number. I do respect him very highly as a coach, and I think he's going to get the most out of his players this year. I do think the Falcons are actually going to surprise people this year. But I don't think Ridder and Robinson, I believe, is going to be just amazing this year. But Ridder and the defense, I don't. So there you go. I've got that one as a W. And take it away, Jake.
There is no way in hell on this jolly green earth that Arthur Smith is going to defeat Mike Vrabel. This is going to be my first win at Nissan Stadium for the Titans. And as an OU fan, I can say Bijan is very good. He has beat us down his entire collegiate career. This defense is going to stop the run. Desmond Ridder is a great backup quarterback. I do not think he is him, and I think ultimately this is a low-scoring affair, but it is a dominant beatdown of physicality leaning towards the Titans.
I'm going to keep it simple. First appearance of the Houston Oilers throwbacks. They're not going to lose in their first appearance in the Houston Oilers throwbacks. It's simple. Arthur Smith, Jonnu Smith, they're returning to Tennessee, and Mike Vrabel after, because I'm looking at this in like context of situation, right? Coming back from Europe, you just got beat, right? After a big win in the division, you get beat big, right, on national television, across overseas. Mike Vrabel does not lose back-to-back games. He just doesn't do it, right? Outside of last year,
Yep.
he does not. He just does not come back off of a horrible loss and lay an egg. And it's at home. This is going to be the homecoming, right? Probably going to be the Titans, like all of the old Oilers players, right, coming back. Eddie, Blaine, Warren Moon, all those guys. We don't lose in front of those guys. This is a big W for us.
And we have to remember this is following the bye week as well, and we know Mike Vrabel's history
I was
following the bye
just
week.
about to bring that up. Yep, we all know how he does after the bye.
And they having to sit. Just imagine having to sit on that for a week, right? For 2 weeks essentially. You have to sit on that loss for 2 weeks. You're going to have to hear ESPN and Fox and CBS talk about, are the Titans for real? Or, look at how they got beat down.
Yeah.
And they're probably going to end up somehow, some way making the Falcons like a 6-point favorite. And Mike Vrabel is bulletin board material. That is like the worst guy outside of Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. That's like the worst guy to give bulletin board material to.
I wholeheartedly agree. All right, Jake, you've got at the Steelers.
So Mike Tomlin and this Steelers team, when I look at them now, I see beta Titans at this point in time. They got some better receivers. I'll give them that. But when we look at the running back, we got beta Derrick Henry. We look at Kenny Pickett. We got beta Ryan Tannehill. Offensive line's pretty comparable. Defense is pretty comparable. Ultimately, I still view the Steelers as a rivalry. It's been a long time coming, but ultimately, I see us winning this game and putting my first back-to-back wins together.
Court.
I have us taking an L here, but not a big L. I just think Mike Tomlin is going to be on a mission this year, and to come out and prove like, hey, we had a down year last year despite it being a winning season. This guy's never had a losing season in 15 years. Like, it's not many guys that can say I haven't lost a season, right? You've been down, maybe not been the most talented team, maybe not made the playoffs, but haven't had a losing season. I don't think that changes. I think we have to go to Pittsburgh for that game, and we don't generally play well in Pittsburgh. So the last time we played well in Pittsburgh, I believe we were both undefeated, and they still ended up beating us. History plays a part in this. I got this as an L, but I think we lose by maybe a field goal.
I think the last time we won in Pittsburgh is when we stomped on the terrible towel, if I'm right.
Yeah. And then that first game that year, they came out. Oh my God.
They call it the Heinz Field curse. Yeah. It's a bummer, man. And I hate that Bullock was a part of that, man.
It was him, Javon Curse. It was him, Javon Curse. Like, I think that we had
Lindell White.
Yeah, they were all.
Yeah, it was Lindell.
Yeah, I was gonna say Lindell. I think was the one who started it, but I mean, the fact that everybody kind of just, I don't know. Anyway, moving on. For me, the Steelers are a bitter, hated. I have 3 absolutely hated teams in the NFL that aren't in my division, really, and that is the Pittsburgh Steelers at number 1 hated team, the Dallas Cowboys at number 2 hated team, and then the New England Patriots at the number 3 hated team. And the reason I hate the Steelers is basically just because of that, and their fans are really nasty. Like every time that I've been to a Steelers game, their fans are like some of the ugliest fans. I don't mean like facial features. I mean jerky, asses. Basically, that's the only other way I can describe it. Sorry, I can't describe it any other way.
Have
They're
you been to an Indianapolis Colts game?
Yeah, in Indianapolis. And they still treated me better. That's the crazy part. Like the only other place that I have been shown more disrespect or just as much disrespect was the year we played Baltimore when we had Vince Young as a rookie. I think when Baltimore came here, they were the worst, man. I mean, they were the absolute worst. I couldn't imagine. But anyway, I believe it is you, Court, on the Buccaneers. Oh, I didn't say that was a win for me, by the way, and I'm an optimist. The reason I say that's a win, that's a flex game for me as well. It could go either way, but for me, I'm an optimist. I say we win that one. And
yeah, it can go either way. That game can go either way. That's why I said I think it's a field goal win for Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
but Kenny Pickett could very well go out there and look like a second-year quarterback.
That's why that's why I gave us a W, is because of Kenny Pickett. I'm just not a believer. But
even though I like Kenny, I actually like Kenny. I like him a lot.
So you are a believer then?
Yeah. Don't let Pittsburgh Steelers fans hear that.
All right.
I like Kenny. But going into Tampa Bay, we're in Tampa, but I don't trust Baker Mayfield as far as I can go. I don't trust Baker Mayfield as far as he can go. So I think that team, as talented as they are going to be in a quarterback purgatory. It is going to be who's the best guy to give you the best chance to win. If it's Baker Mayfield, we're going to win that game easily. They're going to move the ball some because they still have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and those guys. That defense is nasty, Lavonte David and those guys, but I think we get the upper hand. I just think we're the more talented team and the more consistent team, and we have the better coaching. So I got us having a W.
I actually agree with you. I'm going to keep it pretty short and sweet. We beat the Buccaneers because I think the Buccaneers honestly are going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL this year. And that's all I have to say about that. Jake?
Yeah, I'm pretty lockstep in that. I think this is a team that's going to be contending for a top 3 pick with the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals are the worst team, but after them, I've got the Buccaneers. Again, big OU fan, so Baker Mayfield's my guy. Not an NFL quarterback at this point in time. Kyle Trask, even worse. This is a team that the Titans should dominate, which terrifies me because we know that is the games that we ultimately end up losing. Flashback to the Jets a couple years ago.
Oh my God.
We played down to our opponents, and I am hoping we remedy this. So this is ultimately a win in my books, but I will be holding my breath till the fourth quarter expires.
Oh my God, you're so right about us playing down to our opponents, man. We've done that for years, but let's hope that goes away now that we've got a little more firepower.
With Arden Key on the team, I don't think he's going to allow that to happen.
I was going to say, our defense is electric, and we've got more firepower. But anyway, all right, so Jaguars at the Jaguars. Oh my God, this hurts. I literally, I've got a pain in my side right now that's starting to build up. The left arm's going numb. I don't know if that's normal, but
go to the ER, man. That's not safe.
I have us as an L on this one. Again, this is one of my flex games. Both the Jaguar games for me are flex games. I think they could go either way. Honestly, I hate to give the Jaguars any credit at all, but they do look good. I mean, and they won last year. But again, as I said before, I'm a prove it guy. So until they do a back-to-back seasons winning, I'm not going to say that they're going to have a good season because they haven't done it before. Or, well, they haven't done it in 25 years if you caught the intro. McCourty told you. But what do you think about that, Jake?
So I am not a believer in Trevor. I don't believe Trevor Lawrence is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. I don't believe he'll ever become one. Calvin Ridley, same thing. I think he's going to take time to come back. He'll be an okay player. But ultimately, we're playing in Jacksonville, and we love to split games with Jacksonville. So ultimately, I have this as a loss, unfortunately.
I have this as a win, actually. I have us rattling off 4 straight. So I have this as a win. They're going to be coming off of a loss, in my opinion, to San Francisco. That's going to be a tough game against one of the best defenses in the league. I think they're going to come out of that with some injuries. And that's not saying that I'm hoping they get hurt or anything like that. I just look at that game as how brutal that game's going to be. They're going to come out of that nicked up some, and then you're coming back to the Titans are coming to Jacksonville, right? And you have to think about they're going to be flying from San Francisco. I think San Francisco. Yes, no, San Francisco's going to be there. They're going to be home for 2 weeks. We're going to be going to Jacksonville. So, regardless, I think Vrabel goes in there, has us prepared after coming off of a W. After being in Florida, I don't think they leave Florida again, right? Because they're in Tampa. We're going to Tampa, and then we'll have to be in Jacksonville. So I think they'll probably stay in Florida, practice down there somehow, right? Be ready for that game. It's a W.
I like that. All right, so Jake, Panthers.
So this Panthers team, they got the number 1 pick, Bryce Young, coming into the building, looking good, looking strong. This defense should dismantle this offense. This is a one-sided affair, in my opinion. We'll see if Bryce is even playing in this game at this point in the season. We'll see if anybody's gotten to him. But ultimately, I think we dismantle this team and we take the dub and we move on to the next week.
I have us getting a W here because it's just at home too. So this is a home game, home cooking, right? Gotta love it. But this is one of those swing games for me. And the reason I say that is because the Titans tend to overlook opponents that they feel like they should just run roughshod through, right? Mm-hmm. And the next week we have Indianapolis, and I think we could get caught looking forward to Indianapolis. I do have it as a win in the win column, but if we overlook this team, it could very well be one of those losses that we look at and be like, why did we lose this team?
I agree with you. We do have those losses throughout the season. We always seem to lose to a team that, like the Giants last year. But I have the Panthers as a W, and just simply because, I'm not a Bryce Young believer, not in the pros anyway. A lot of people, sorry, excuse me. I've been trying to drink a lot of water and stuff, but my voice is after coaching Saturday. And then I went to my very first circus on Sunday, which was amazing. And then today we went to our little town has a festival. And
you just been living it up.
I was gonna say one of my cousins was
3-day weekends
doing a wrestling thing. Yeah, and he won the championship belt. So of course we all went nuts. And so so I don't really have a voice left. And I'm sorry if I sound like a frog or something.
I know you're good, man.
But yeah, the Panthers is a W as well. Go ahead, Court with the Colts.
Simple. December, first week of December, right? I think we open up the month with a win here. I think the Colts are going to be a little bit better. I think they're going to still remember the beating that we put on them in the first meeting, right? So they're going to come out firing. But I think Vrabel is going to get this team settled in. We should be completely healthy by this time, right? So we should have a full contingency back on the field. Kyle Phillips, D-Hop, Traylon, right? We should be completely healthy on both sides of the ball. If that comes to fruition and happens, then I think we have like a 6-point. I'm giving it like a 3 to 6 point margin in that second game. But I don't have this as a flex game at all. I don't think Indianapolis is looking to even be a competitive team this year. And I got the Titans taking the W here. Right, that's 4 straight, by the way, guys. 4.
I was gonna say, to be honest, I said it earlier. Quick, Colts are worst team in the division. We win, easy sweep. You got anything to add to that, Jake?
That's the word. Sweep. On to the next one.
All right, sweet. I love it. All right, now this one for me at the Dolphins at Miami in December. Normally we play the Dolphins when we play or the last time we played the Dolphins, I think, when they beat us. Or
It's normally early in the season.
yeah, it was much earlier in the season, and it messed us up, I think, because it was so hot. But I think that in December, I think it's a perfect time to play them. However, this for me is the trap game. This is for me the game that everybody, oh, well, maybe Tua's questionable, or I don't know the storylines at this point in the season, but I'm just guessing here. But I think that there's one trap game every season. We've all talked about it. Teams that we should beat that we didn't. And this is for me, this is the game. This is the one. The Dolphins, I think, are personally for me, I think they're the NFL underdogs. I think they're the ones, the dark horses. I think they're somebody to watch out for this year. I think they're going to be hot. I think they might win their division this year. Just saying. As an outsider, I don't know. I follow the Titans, not Miami, but I'm just saying from an outside perspective, if Tua stays healthy, they got a pretty good outlook for the season as far as I'm concerned. So I'm going to give that an L. And you got anything to add to that, Jake?
Yeah, so if I'm remembering correctly, the last time we played Miami was the weather delay game. If I'm remembering correctly,
yes, it was ridiculously long.
Delayed, and it turned into a 9-hour affair.
Yes.
If I remember right.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. I hope in December, if it is, especially Miami. But I look at this team as a track team. I think the Titans are going to go down there. They're going to play in tight. And a good example, I think this is going to look like that LSU Florida State game we saw last Sunday, Monday, whatever day that was, where they play them tight that first half, and then is it Waddle? Yeah, Waddle breaks one long. He takes it to the house. We come out, we get a stop. And then they come out, Hill takes another one to the house. And then Devon Achane or Raheem Mostert, whoever they got going on at that point in time. And I think this game gets out of hand pretty quickly in the second half, and ultimately I have this going down as an
L. Yeah, I got it as an L. It's simple. This is going to be one of the – I have the Dolphins winning 9 games this year, coming in third in their division. But they're very dangerous. And Tennessee, as of right now, we just don't have the speed on the defensive side of the ball to stop that kind of track team, right? That's not to say we're slow. We're very good on defense. I think we're going to get to a whole heck of a lot, right? It's just, can you stop those 60-yard plays that they can rattle off very quickly? This is a very reminiscent of the Chiefs of 2 or 3 years ago, where they could just pop off a long one, at the drop of a dime. I do say this is one of my swing games, though, because again, just like the Chargers, but just like the Chiefs a couple years ago, we could play this game very close, right, and end up beating them in a last-second touchdown, right, a la Tannehill to Adam Humphries. So, This is a L for me on paper, but this could go either way.
All right. Let's see. Whose turn is it? I've lost track.
Is it Jake's turn?
Honestly, I don't know, but I'd be happy to go.
I was going to say, yeah, it is Jake's turn because I did the Dolphins last. So Texans.
Yeah, we got Texans. This first Texans game of the year. Ultimately,
you know what's going to happen this game.
We know what's going to happen. So, Derrick Henry only needs one more game of 200 rushing yards to eclipse the all-time games of 200 rushing yards. And we know Derrick Henry owns this Texans team. And then coming out earlier this week with all the contracts disputes with the running back markets, he said, I am playing for all future running backs. I think we dismantle them. I think they lose their will to continue after this game. And I don't think I'm beating a dead bush here, but ultimately I think we sweep the Texans, and we'll get into that game here in a little bit. Yeah. But this C.J. Stroud, he's a guy. He's just another guy. I was never a C.J. Stroud fan, And ultimately, this team just doesn't have the pieces to beat us at this point in time.
Simple. Derek, like I said, Derrick Henry owns this team. Even if he doesn't get the 200 yards in this game, it'll probably happen the next game. And we know that Derrick Henry in December turns into, I don't know if he takes like super soldier serum. NFL, if you're watching this, do not go drug testing. I promise he's not taking that. Yeah, this game, I think this game, we beat them into submission. Just like we come out there and we impose our will. I think Traylon has a breakout game in this game as well. D Hop going back to Houston. It's going to be fun to see that as well. So, yeah, man, it's a W, and it's going to be a fun one. Because also, this is the second appearance of the Houston Oilers throwbacks, and I'll be happy to rub this in their faces.
Yeah, I will.
No, I'm sorry. We're at home in this game. Sorry, we don't go to Houston. I wish we were going to go to Houston, but we'll be at home.
Yeah, we'll be at home, but we will be in those jerseys. And you know, to be honest, if you've ever watched my show, early shows, you'll know that, and you know, if you ever talk to me in person, you'll know I absolutely hate the Oilers history. I don't like it. I would rather us just start off when we, you know, moved to Tennessee in 98 or 7 or whatever that was, and just start there. Just start there and just move forward. Just forget all the other stuff. I don't really need that. But, you know, Houston fans were so uptight about us getting these jerseys that it has turned me into an Oilers supporter. So good job, Texans fans. Or, Texans fans, I guess. Most of them are Texans fans.
Max, it got so bad that the University of Houston even came out with an Oilers-esque alternate, and I was like, "This is the closest that you guys would ever get to it."
Yep.
So
yeah, and that's what I thought. I was like, "How petty do you have to be to get one of your college teams to use a pro team's colors?" But whatever, you know, I'm gonna leave it alone. But win for me too. And I believe that brings us to the Seahawks, Cortland.
Simple. It's going to be a loss. We do not have the defense in the secondary as much as I hate to say it, to stop DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and JSN. It pains me. And then Tariq Woolen, Devin Witherspoon, Kobe Bryant, no relation, right? So like when you look at those guys, like on both sides, they have weapons that can stop us. We're going to take an L. We're going to take them on the chin in that game.
Yeah, I'll say this, man. Geno Smith proved me wrong in a lot of places. I've always kind of considered him a backup quarterback, but he is a starter for sure. And now with JSN, man, I expect him to have some pretty good numbers this year if he stays healthy. So, I've got that as an L as well. Jake?
Yeah, so looking at Geno and what he put on film last year makes me question if Russell Wilson was ever good or if it was just only Pete Carroll. But ultimately, I am in agreement with this. I believe JSN and DK Metcalf take over this game. And Tyler Lockett, I believe, is the most underrated player in the NFL. Never gets his due respect. Dude is always following in fantasy drafts year after year after year and just puts up numbers. This is just what he does. So ultimately, I see this as a close affair. And this is one of those pick 'em games for me. But ultimately, I do see Seattle winning this one from us.
All right, so we're all in agreement on a loss there. Which brings me to the other Texans game, which is another win. No offense against the Texans. I think they're the second worst team in the AFC South this year. But I also think they're a dark horse. They could challenge Jacksonville, or if something was to happen to us, unfortunately. But I do think that they are a dark horse in the AFC South. I do think that they could be good, but I just don't know that they're there yet. So I've got that one as a W. Jake?
I kind of gave my prediction earlier in the first game. I think we move right through Houston. Little background on myself. My family's from Houston, so I grew up an Oilers fan. And then
Nice.
whenever we moved to Tennessee, I followed the team. And then people like my grandpa were like, I just don't care about the NFL anymore. And then the Texans came back. And I take so much pride and happiness every week that we smack around that team. And I think we just steamroll them again.
I'm gonna keep it simple. One of these games is going to be the Derrick Henry Memorial game. One of these is going to be the D-Hop Memorial game. And if this doesn't get you taken off the air, I just think Derrick Henry or DeAndre Hopkins are going to drop their nuts on the Houston Texans at some point in the season. Like, it's just going to happen, right? Like, DeAndre Hopkins is going to remember, you guys traded me after saying that I was going to get a contract extension, right? And then Derrick Henry is just going to remember that you all are my sons, and I love to beat on my sons, right? This is like the only time that child abuse is okay and lawful. So I have us sweeping the Texans.
I love it. Hey, no, man, you ain't gonna get me in no trouble. But yeah, that's hilarious, man. Yeah, no, I agree. I totally think that you're absolutely right. I think DeAndre Hopkins will in both those games will be making, especially in Houston, will be making a statement that they screwed up by letting him go. I forgot whose turn it is. I think it's mine.
I think you're bringing it home.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's mine, and it's the Jaguars on the last game of the season. I gave them the loss, or I gave the Titans the loss in Jacksonville. So when you come to Nashville, especially if we're in a race for the division or something like that, if the game actually means something to the Titans, not like last year, then I think that we will win. Period. It's not a flex game. It's a win. There you go. Jake.
Awesome. So I as well gave Jacksonville the first game. And at this point, I have us at 10-6. I have Jacksonville at 9-7. So we, at this point, have secured a wild card spot. But the division relies on this game. I ultimately see us winning this game at Nissan Stadium. I think it's still going to be back and forth, but I think we come out on top.
I said this at the beginning of the season. I had to hold true to it, unfortunately. This is a toss-up game, but I have it as an L for us at home. I think the division, I think both teams at this point in time are either going to be 10-6, right? Or like Jake said, one team's going to be like 9-7. Right, needs to win, and the other team from like 10-6, and doesn't need it needs the other team to lose. I think we're going to be that 9-7 team, or 10-6 team. I'm sorry, and we're going to lose to Jacksonville. I think Jacksonville is going to need that win to either secure the division or get to the playoffs. And you back the dog into a corner, they're going to come out fire. And so I ultimately have them beating this, but this could easily, like you said, backs go either way. Right, because this is Tennessee, this is Vrabel. We know when he's back against the wall, this team comes out and fires. Like last year, we could have won that game. So it's going to be interesting, but I think I have us losing this game and going 10-7 on the season.
All right. Well, we all have different views on what the Titans are going to do this year, as far as level wise. You guys are pretty close, but I guess a little homerish, and that's okay. I can be a little homerish because that's my right. It's it's what I do.
The beauty about predictions are anybody can be right.
I was gonna say, yeah,
you can clip out the ones you got right, and the other ones you can delete forever.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I mean nobody's gonna know except for maybe. I'm sorry, you guys have to excuse this guy. He's our local Jaguars homer. Hangs around the show, drops.
All publicity is good publicity. This is
I was gonna say
up the channel.
He drops idiotic stuff all the time, but it's cool. I love you, Clarence. Keep showing up, buddy. Anyway, as far as the individual leaders go, I'm not even gonna go into the passing and rushing leaders because that's a duh. If you don't know, then you're not a Titans fan or you're living under a rock. Receiving yards, though, I think is an interesting one. Receiving yards for me goes to Treylon Burks.
Okay.
And the reason I say that, most people would be like, why not DeAndre Hopkins? Well, because DeAndre Hopkins, I think, is more of a possession receiver, or that's how we're going to use him. I think every now and then we might, pitch one off deep to him, or he might break a tackle and take one deep or something like that. But I think Treylon's more of the guy that's going to be going down the field streaking or crossing the field streaking, and he's going to be the yak guy. He's a big receiver, gets a lot of yak yards. So I think he has more yards. Might not have more receptions, but I think he has more yards. So that's my pick for the receiving yards. Jake, what about you, buddy?
So I have Nuke taking it ultimately. I think this will be Corey Davis and A.J. Brown. They didn't eclipse that 1,000-yard each. Corey came real close, but he didn't quite get there. I think this is the first year we see that broken. I do see Nuke as the possession receiver, and I think he's going to be that number one target for Ryan Tannehill, and he's going to get peppered with those. Ultimately, I think Burks does have a higher ADOT, or average depth of target, and does make that second-year leap. But ultimately, Nuke is Nuke, and I do not think he's washed yet, and I think he's going to run away with this. And I have him around the 1,200 range currently.
All right.
I have a difference in opinion. Don't laugh at it. Chig Okonkwo. I remember that name.
Nothing wrong with that.
Number. Number.
I'm not going to discredit that.
Number 85 is going to stretch the seams. He is going to be our version of George Kittle, our version of Mark Andrews, our version of Travis Kelce. Insert top tight end here, right? Because Treylon Burks is going to demand attention. DeAndre is going to demand attention. Derrick Henry is going to demand attention. And Ryan Tannehill is going to look for number 85, streaking up the sidelines, streaking, on those wheel routes, on those out routes that he's going to be able to take this, use his speed and turn into big yards. So I think Chig is going to lead the team. This is going to be like a la early years of Delaney Walker.
Yep, that's what I was thinking.
All right, yeah, I like that. I would really like that, to be honest, because I'm a big fan of tight ends. I love Delaney. I'd like to see a little mini version of Delaney come.
And that's not to say that like we're going to be bad passing the ball. I just think they're going to demand so much attention on the outside that it's going to open up one-on-ones against linebackers and safeties for them. So
well, and to be honest, we've got so many different weapons. We can spread the ball around pretty equally. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be hard to judge who's going to be. That's kind of why I settled there as the first one, because it was a tough question. I figured we'd all have different answers, and we did. So it was awesome. All right, so we're going to move right along into defense. I'm not even going to talk about touchdowns and stuff like that because, that's just crazy speculation. Sacks. Most sacks on the team. It's going to be for me, it's an easy pick. Harold Landry, I think, is going to have double-digit sacks. I think probably 12, 14 is where I see him at the season. If he comes back just like he left, then that's right where he's going to pick up. That's for me. Go ahead, Jake.
For me, it's easy as well, but it's a different answer. I'm going with Arden Key. So I love this man energy since he's been in the building. And Harold coming back from the ACL, ultimately he's looking healthy thus far, but it takes a little bit of time to get back up full ramp to what he was. And as athletic as an edge as he was, losing even half a step is going to take quite a bit off of his game. Ultimately, I still have Landry in the 8-sack range, but I have Arden Key breaking that double digit.
Okay. I have both of those guys coming in second and third to one man by the name of Danico Autry. I think his versatility, he's hungry. You can play him outside standing up. You can play him inside a 3 technique. You can play him inside 1 technique. The dude just moves around the defense. And as athletic as he is, right, Big Jeff is going to demand attention. Like you said, Harold Landry, Arden Key, Rashad Weaver, and this contingency of just ridiculous athletes that we have on this team. The one guy that's going to get lost in the shuffle is number 96. And he's just consistently in the quarterback's face in the preseason game, I mean, he simply just disrupted the play, tackled the guy, and also caused a fumble, and almost picked it up too. So JDP beat him to it. So this is a guy who I think is the most dynamic defender on the team in that front seven right now. No knock to Big Jeff or anybody. That guy he eats and feasts on one-on-ones. I think he's going to lead the team.
I love it. Again, we all have different answers. I love it. And we all could be right. That's the cool thing about it, is both of those subjects are up to question.
If Arden Key leads the team in sacks, re-sign him.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we can just all take a second and say thank you, Jacksonville, for Arden Key. I know he's at 49ers. And
thank you, 49ers.
Yes, thank you, 49ers. And thank you, Indianapolis, for Danico.
Yes, we have loved Danico. So tackles. Most tackles. This one's a hard one. It's like the touchdowns. It's purely speculation. But for me on this team, no, it's not. I think I know who's going to end the season with the most tackles. And I think I can pretty much guarantee it's going to be Azeez Al-Shaair. And that's my pick. Azeez Al-Shaair. You're going to be the number one tackler. Probably the number one for TFLs too.
Yeah.
Jake?
This one, I view Azeez as the Mike. So I do think he was going to play on the strong side of the ball. So I could see the realm of possibilities where he is taking on the blocks and Dr. Gibby or whoever's playing that second linebacker is eating up and getting those free tackles. But ultimately, it's Azeez. It's Azeez for me.
Oh, yeah. It's number two. Turn me up two. Dude plays the ball. He plays around the ball. And even in San Francisco, when I kind of broke around to get some insight on who he is as a player, they were like, yeah, go look at his tape when Greenlaw was out, when Fred missed time. This dude is around the ball. Number 51 was somewhere around the ball at all times, passing, running plays, and he just sniffs it out. I think he comes somewhere in between the 95 to 110 on each of the tackles.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think somewhere around 105. Yeah, that was going to be my guess, was 105. As far as that goes, let's move on to interceptions to round off the defense. And for me, it's a really easy answer. Again, I hate to say it, but with the pass rush we have, I think our defense is going to eat. So I think the mayor is pretty much just going to be sitting back there, ball hawking, just waiting. You know what I mean? And I think he's going to lead. That was my hot take for the season to begin the season, was that Byard leads the NFL in interceptions at the end of the year. I think he's going to come back. Yeah, I think he's going to come back. I mean, with the pass rush we have, doesn't it make sense that he could just sit back there and just wait, watch the quarterback and
yeah, I have a different answer, but I can't continue with that one.
But all right, yeah, let's go with it.
So mine is Agent Zero, Sub-Zero, SMB, Sean Murphy-Bunting. The dude is a feast or famine corner. The likes of we haven't had in a long while. But when he eats, he eats. He was part of that Tampa Bay defense that was like, oh, their secondary is trash. Their secondary has nobodies, right? And then all of a sudden, Sean Murphy-Bunting was the shining star, where he just simply took guys out of the game, was getting picks here or there. He's a long, athletic corner that can match up with big bodies, and he's going to get targeted a lot because Christian Fulton, I believe, is going to be, of course, CB1. Sean Murphy-Bunting is going to get targeted because people don't know exactly who he is, and they don't really respect the name yet. He's going to come down with a lot of interceptions this year.
I love it. And ultimately, I also have a alternative opinion. So
awesome.
I have Amani Hooker leading this team in interceptions. I think Amani is super underrated on this defense. He's always the extra guy. He's right behind Kevin. Ultimately, I still have Kevin as one of the best safeties in the league, but he is getting older, so I think he's right here. Amani's right here for me right now. And we've seen him ball hawk in the past, and coming into that Cincinnati game in the playoffs and catching that off the turf. I don't even know how he caught it, I think ultimately this man is in the right place at the right time. He's not the cream of the crop as far as athlete goes, but bringing in this system with Shane Bowen just another year, ultimately, I think he takes that next step forward. And I'm thinking 6 to 8 sacks. I think he is up there leading the NFL this season.
That is fair. I mean, we do boast one of the top 5 safety duos in the NFL. So
100%.
Yeah, I agree. I also, just a honorable mention, I wanted to say Roger McCreary, just because of, to me, one play, everybody knows it, where he was going out of bounds, catching
man, the
the
back
ball.
tap was ooh, I was like, wow, because when he did it, I was like, there's no way. There's no way.
Yep.
There's no way. And then like Josh Ballou just kind of
for me, it's just a showing of football intelligence. And as a rookie, that just that just makes me pleased all over. That makes
and
me
he's going to be
tingle.
primarily in the slot this year, which is going to help him out.
Mm-hmm. Again, it's gonna. But I'm just saying, and any of those 4 guys, again, could be the right answer. That's the awesome thing about our defense this year.
Well, it starts with the line. Oh, no, it starts with the line. This is going to make our secondary's job that much easier. They're just going to sit back, and we know as we rotate through that front, this is dream playing field for our safeties and our corners.
And another thing about McCreary's intelligence, that interception he had against Kansas City on the screenplay, where like they blew it up and he just kind of came up with it like off the turf, right? Like that was the guy knows for everything he lacks in size and like strength, right? He plays very headsy. Kind of reminds me of another guy who wore number 31, right? Cortland Finnegan, who played here. For everything he lacked in size, he just knew how to play the game. Was always seemed to be around the ball. So definitely would love to see Roger lead the league in interceptions. I would love that. Or lead the team. Lead the league is also a good idea as well.
Yeah, I honestly, I think I just believe in Byard a lot, to be honest. I feel like this is his, and I think he probably wins comeback player of the year too.
Nice.
Just throwing it out there. I think this is his year. I think he's going to show the Titans why they shouldn't have asked him to take a pay cut and why they need to pay him more and why he needs to retire as a Titan, because he is the mayor of Murfreesboro and the best safety in the league.
He might retire after this year, but you didn't hear that yet.
I really hope that's not true, because I love Kevin Byard and I love watching him play. But if he does decide to go out on top, I completely understand that. And that is the best way to do it, my friend. So kudos to you. Kick return and punt return, I'm going to do together. So you can just, kick return, punt return. I don't care how you. But for me, it's the same answer. And I hate it that like an hour and a half before my show aired, Teron Davenport, which I love Teron. Don't get me wrong. Trying to get Teron to come on the show, to be honest. But I hate it that Teron let that draft or that
the depth
chart. Unofficial depth chart come out, because this was my pick before that. So, and nobody's going to believe me now. But Kearis Jackson, both punt return, kick return. I think that's where he makes his imprint on our team. And I feel like maybe towards the end of the season, I feel like he might actually become a decent rotational receiver as well. So what do you think, kick return, punt return, Jake?
Ultimately, it's the same answer. I've been a Kearis guy ever since he signed as an undrafted free agent. He was the only undrafted free agent I actually wrote about. And ultimately, I see this as a NWI replacement probably after this season. This is a player that almost led the entire NCAA in blocking efficiency from the wide receiver position. And that's something that's one of the 3 musts for Mike Vrabel. You got to catch the ball. You got to get open. You got to block. And Kearis, he's that dude. So I see the path for him to actually seeing some snaps out wide this season or from the slot as well. But ultimately, he's the kick returner. He's the punt returner. I think he's going to do a damn fine job at it. And we're finally getting out of that return purgatory. We don't have to watch Hassan Haskins run at a 5.040 clip catching the ball. Kearis, he's that dude.
I got the same, man. And I said this a couple of weeks back on the show. To me, he's Derrick Henry, not Derrick Henry, but Derrick Mason. Like he reminds me so much of that guy, a guy who came in as a return specialist and then developed into one of the greatest, if not the greatest, in my opinion, the greatest receiver in Titans history. So
Yes.
and I'm not saying that's going to be Kearis Jackson. Don't quote me on that. I don't want anybody blowing my I don't want anybody blowing my Twitter up saying Cortland said that Kearis Jackson's going to be Derrick Mason.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is I think he's going to lead the team this year. And bold take, you can clip me on this. I think he leads the league in average yards per return.
There you go. I agree with that. I think Kearis Jackson could be an amazing returner, and like I said, I think he can be a rotational receiver. And I honestly, I didn't feel that way until I went to the game Friday. When I went to the game and I saw him in person, Jake, I don't know if you. I'm sure you have. Maybe you have media credentials. Maybe you don't. I don't know, but I see that when I saw him in person, I don't. So when I saw him in person, it was a completely different story for me. I was like, oh wow, he looks a lot better in person than he does on video. I don't know why. Some people just do, you know.
He's a lot thicker built than like your average guy that you say is like 5'10", 5'11".
I was gonna say I thought he was a lot smaller than that. You know, you see Kyle Phillips out there, and it's like, oh man, that dude is small.
Yeah, him standing next to Kyle, it's like one of these guys aren't the same, right? And that may be because of the Pac-12, right? UCLA guy versus a guy who was at Georgia with, I will say this too, for those who don't know and don't watch a lot of college football. When I watched Georgia, right, for all of the Brock Bowers and Darnell Washingtons, those guys, Kearis Jackson was a 1,000-yard receiver. And it was the quietest, most consistent 1,000 yards I've ever seen in college football. And I played receiver. So I'm very meticulous when it comes to grading receivers and like looking at and analyzing their tape. He re-stems very well, right? Even when he gets knocked off of his stem, he re-stems very well. He breaks very well. His releases are very clean, right? It's rare that you see him get touched in a phone booth on his releases, and his hands. He has probably some of the most solid hands I've ever seen from a receiver. So this guy can definitely develop into one of those consistent outside guys that we've been looking for, right? Like once DeAndre Hopkins moves on and probably retires or whatever, if he stays a Titan for the rest of his career, right? Kearis could definitely hop into that secondary role next to Traylon. So I definitely love what Ryan Carthon and those guys have done as far as their evaluation process.
All right. Well, to be honest, we are well into the show's supposed time limit or whatever, but
You'll deal with the repercussions later.
I'm kind of doing my thing right now because you know what? It works. Everything I seem to be doing right now works. So, if that sounds cocky, it is. So basically we're going to do the fan segment. Fans, if you're out there, you want to do any shout outs or get any questions in, now's your time. For our fan questions of the week, because he gave me a few, we've got Jamie Holiday from Twitter, at Jamie Holiday 5 from Twitter. The first one is, what is the most appealing make it or break it situation to watch this season? For me, it's linebacker, and it's Gibby. I think he will make it, but I think that is the biggest make it or break it that there is. I would say secondary, but because our pass rush is so amazing, I think that's going to take a lot of pressure off the secondary. So.
Wow, that's an interesting one. And if I had to say, I'm probably gonna go with Teair Tart. It's his contract season, right? And I'm not saying that the guy hasn't made his bones, but this year it's gonna be, hey, we want that contract. We got approximately $131 million to play with next year. 15 of that could be yours. What are you gonna do about it? Right? And if he can make that or he can break that, and we'll see what happens. But I see now the way that this GM and this front office is working, they feel like they can plug and play anyone, and it works. And you could definitely very well see Tierra Tart move on to another team. They're like, hey, Jaden Peavy, come on in, right? You know, hey, Michael Dwumfour, come on in, right? Like they're that confident in their process and how they've evaluated and built this roster. So yeah, I think Tierra is a make or break.
I really got two. I'll say the right tackle position. Who comes out on top on that? NPF, once he comes back, is he that guy? Is it going to be Chris Hubbard? Insert mediocre name blank here. Second one is, what does this Tim Kelly's offense look like? Are we still going to follow this run, pass concept? Are we actually going to open it up? We know we've switched to this new style. This was it the Hopkins Perkins system or whatever it's called. So we know they're going to be running more tempo. What is this ultimately going to look like, and will it be successful?
It's a modified West Coast offense. So we're going to probably be using a little bit more of if you go back and watch a lot of like early 90s, late 80s, early 90s 49ers tape, where they were using stretch play, like the short toss plays as like pass plays as more like extended run plays. We're going to see that, but you're going to see it used more with the wide receivers. And then, of course, you're going to have your pop shots over the top because they're going to force teams to come up, and then they're going to hit you with like a slant and go or a sluggo, and it's going to throw you off. So I can see that, but I get where you're going with that because Tim Kelly, I would say this: after Arthur Smith, he spoiled us, right? Top 5 offense every year that he was the offensive coordinator, and then we get the guy who doesn't. We will not name, right? DWI after a win, right? and then you get Tim Kelly, who a lot of people argue should have been the offensive coordinator last year. So I definitely see you going with that.
I mean, you guys have been around long enough to remember Exotic Smash Mouth. That's what I think that we're going to end up with, is something similar to
Exotic Smash Mouth that works.
That's what I was going to say, a better version of it.
Do we not bring back Robiscuit's offense? Jesus.
All right. Oh, my goodness. Must see TV co-post on Lamar or what? I don't know what he means by that. Or a hot seat coach like Kyle Shanahan. Oh, there we go. Tannehill and Henry. If they do really well, I think this is what he's asking. Basically, Tannehill and Henry, if we have an amazing season, like say we have a deep playoff run, do we re-sign Tannehill and Henry to come back and make another run at it? Mm-hmm. Or do we move to the future?
I think regardless of what happens this year, you move to the future. I don't think Rand Carthon moved up into the second round with the plans of having Ryan Tannehill be up under center. Now, Derrick Henry, that's another situation, right? Derrick Henry is a franchise cornerstone guy at this point in time, right? He's a guy who's going to yield another 2 or 3 year contract. Number 17, on the other hand, do I see them paying him another $27 to $36 million to stick around? No. When you have 2 guys who are on rookie contracts, one guy is going to go into his 3rd year, right? And the other guy's going to go be in his 2nd year. You're going to have a legitimate quarterback competition, and both of these guys can flourish in this system. So no, I don't. Even if let's say we win the Super Bowl, I still see them going and doing something that it's rare that it happens, but I still see them moving into the future because I just don't see how they can justify moving up into the 2nd round to draft that guy and Will Levis, and then saying we're going to pay Ryan Tannehill 5 years, $190 million. I just don't see how it happens.
Well, I'll say this. If we win the Super Bowl, I think you're right. If we get to the Super Bowl and lose, but Ryan Tannehill is like NFL MVP or something, it would take something.
Oh my God.
That's what I'm saying. It would take something of that level, I think, is my point. is what I'm trying to get across here. For us to re-sign Tannehill. Now Henry is a different story.
Yeah.
I think Henry has a couple good years left in him. Very productive years, so I think it's not unfathomable for us to re-sign Henry. And honestly, if he just has a repeat of what he did last year, that's good enough for me to re-sign him. But I know there are a lot of people out there that want to see more. But for me, repeat of last year is good enough. King, keep it solid. Jake, you got anything to add to that, brother?
The biggest cheat code in the NFL at this point in time is having a young quarterback on your roster. Getting this upper echelon talent, but paying a minimal salary. So ultimately, yeah, I'm in the same boat. If Ryan Tannehill led us to a Super Bowl, and I'm trying to not just think optimistically right now, if he did, I'd have to think about it. But ultimately, Tannehill's gone. Henry, that one, if he does what he says he's going to do this year, I would love for him to retire a Titan. Nothing would bring me more joy. But if we start seeing that decline, that ultimately Father Time catches up to everybody, I could see him not being on the roster next year, and Tajay and Chestnut, and I'm assuming they would bring in a third chess piece in that and do a more running back committee going forward. But man, I'm hoping. I want Henry to stay. We'll see if it happens though.
Well, my draft board for us next year is very much so locked in at this point in time. I got some guys that I kind of want to see us go target, and if we move on from Derrick Henry, and I like this guy by the name of Blake Corum out of Michigan. I mean, play some secondary fiddle to Tajay Spears.
I don't disagree with that, but to be honest, I'm going to be heartbroken if the King ever plays for anybody but the Titans. I'm just going to be real about that. He's been one of my favorite players. Somebody asked me recently who my favorite player was, and I had to sit there and think about it. It's the first time in the 25 years of watching the Titans that I had to literally sit there and think on who was my favorite player between Derrick Henry and Jeffrey Simmons. I had to really think. It was very hard for me to answer that question. I still don't know if the answer that I gave was correct. But
there is no wrong answer.
Yeah, mine is tied, and those two guys are at the top.
I was gonna say, man, they're so great personally and in the game of football. So it's very hard for me to choose a favorite. But we re-signed Simmons. I know he's a lot younger, but I would love to see him. I swear it's going to break my heart. But I'll leave it at that. Do you guys have any hot takes? Yeah, go for it.
Not trying to make us look super forward into the future, right? But like I said, I it's kind of my thing, right? Draft and looking at how the team is going to function in the future and where we might go. Just putting your GM caps on, right? Your scout caps on. Who's maybe two players that you guys think that the Titans should target or could target going into next year's 2024 draft? Within reason, by the way. Because
that's the biggest thing. We could all go, okay, Marvin Harrison Jr. next one.
Yeah. Come on,
but
man.
Ultimately, we know that's not going to happen.
We're not going to be picking top 3 this year.
Drake May, no.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be upset with it.
I would not either.
I'm a UNC fan. So
I go 3 years in a row. I'd be like, yeah. Sorry.
Man, I haven't dove too much into my draft for next year, other than really the quarterbacks thus far. And ultimately, I think we're going to be pretty set there. And I could come out with some homer pick going with OU. But, man, at this point in time, my one player that I'm pretty high on after watching that Florida State game last week was Johnny Wilson. He had some drops. He came out with 2 drops in that game. But watching a 6'7", 230-plus wide receiver just play big man ball, love it. And then
also runs a 4.4.
Yeah, just freak athlete. I would love to see that man dress in a Titans uniform. So that'd ultimately be my pick.
Max?
Man, I'm not really good with college, especially when it comes to draft picks, because I'm not really good with keeping up who's, senior, sophomore, junior, all that stuff. But I will say, just out of the people that I saw that super impressed me over the weekend, the kid from Colorado, I can't remember his name right now, but the wide receiver / cornerback.
Travis Hunter.
Oh, Travis Hunter. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that guy. I mean, I would be happy with that.
Yeah, we gotta wait till 2025 for that guy.
Yeah.
See, that's what I mean. Again, the quarterback that played for I think
Shedeur
that's
Sanders.
Yeah, I was gonna say Shedeur Sanders or whatever his
Yeah.
name is. Yeah, he's amazing, or he looked amazing. The guy from Florida, I think it was Florida State. No, it wasn't
Keon
Florida
Coleman.
State. It was Washington. Who's
Oh.
Washington's quarterback?
Michael Penix Jr.
That guy looks like he's got the juice.
I like him too.
But again, I'm hoping we're not gonna pick quarterback. Honestly, I would hope that we would pick either somebody from the secondary, or we're gonna have to maybe replace our running back next year.
Corum's a good pick for that. I think we could look at tackle too. Somebody like Joe Alt out of Notre Dame would have been way up there on my draft board this season if he was to come out. And just watching him play this last weekend, dude's got it. He's a first-round talent. So we'll see if ultimately he's there when we pick, which I hope is later in the 20s to 30s than earlier. So ultimately, I don't know if he's going to be on the board, but I would love that pick.
You got one of my guys. So Joe Alt is one of my guys. Go ahead, Max.
I was just going to say, I forgot to mention any of the offensive line from Washington. I don't know if any of those guys are seniors, but any of those dudes right there that want to come be a Titan. Yeah, I'm down for drafting those guys.
I know Olu Fashanu is going to probably be way gone by the time we pick, but I would love to have that guy. He would have been the number one tackle over Paris Johnson and DeJuan Johnson.
Oh, 100%.
Had he came out this year. He's my number 3 on my big board right now. I would love to see Brock Bowers somehow fall down the board and just end up in Tennessee. But I would love to see another Georgia Bulldog. But keeping it realistic, I think that we are going to target Kalen King out of Penn State, cornerback, 6'1" guy, 201 pounds, 205 pound guy. Great mirror corner, has great hands, great feet. The dude plays the game the way that Mike Vrabel loves to see guys play. He's 100% go all the time. And he has some versatility in there as well. And then there's one other guy. Of course, I would like to see Jared Verse, right? Who wouldn't want more edge power out there? But I also need to look at wide receiver. Xavier Worthy out of Texas. It's a speedster. Didn't play super well against Rice, but I think that was more or less just Texas beating Texas, right, and playing slow. And then Emeka Egbuka out of Ohio State, he's going to be more of the JSN kind of guy to Marvin Harrison Jr.'s Chris Olave, right? They're going to be in that top 2 conversation for wide receivers, but I think he falls down the board enough to kind of fall to us. I got him as my number 13 prospect on the board, but we know that big boards don't matter because teams draft who they want to draft, right? And guys fall down boards all the time. So we'd love to see him. He's 6'1", 205 pounds, and he's electric. If you go watch him, he's electric. And I think that Kyle Phillips' tenure in Tennessee is coming to an end. And I know it's just 2 years in, but I think it's coming to an end. I think Vrabel has shown that he doesn't care about if you're injured and if you're hurt and what they spent on you. He's a 5th-round draft pick. He came in and showed up very well to earn the starting spot. Just can't stay on the field. And Mike has shown he doesn't have time for that. He sent his starting middle linebacker out the door packing, right, and brought in a guy who hadn't been a starter full time in his entire NFL career, right, and paid him the same amount of money. So, I just wanted to see where you guys' heads was at because again, I'm always thinking in the future, and You know, Rand, if you're watching this, I'm open. I can be in the scouting department.
Right. I 100% agree with that. Vrabel's made it very known that these soft tissue guys are just not going to cut it out for us. And Phillips, some people just aren't built for the NFL. It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
He's got the talent, but the body's just not going to hold up. I could see somebody like, we might not get Bowers, but we might get Ladd McConkey coming out. And I think that is a good potential replacement.
Very good. It's a very good.
And I ultimately think that is a day 2 pick. So we might not have to spend that premium on him as well.
Right. I just want to see where, like I said, I just want to see where you guys' heads are on that, because this draft, I mean, just to give you an idea, my number 42 or 40 through 42 are all guys who are all guys who could possibly be first rounders. Like, very well could be first rounders. Like Brandon Rice is on my big board, right? And that's Jerry Rice's son, if you guys don't know. He's going to get overshadowed this year because USC just has so many weapons, right? But this is a guy who's very consistent. Good route runner, very strong, big body, has solid hands. Probably not going to be his dad, but because Marvin Harrison Jr. is so great, of course, he's a legacy player as well. He's going to get overshadowed. This is a guy who we can possibly get a third, fourth round, and he comes in and can be a starter. So it's going to be fun to see how this roster looks coming into next offseason. And Titans, please draft some guys with some names. I would love to be at camp next year and be able to stick a microphone in some guy's face that it's fun to talk to.
Hey, bring in, was it Kool-Aid McClinchy?
Kool-Aid McKinstry? Yeah, I would love to see him too. I think he's going to be gone before.
Oh, yeah, he's a top 10 pick, I believe, at this point in time.
Yeah, I heard a couple interesting names.
Yeah, him and Kalen King are they're jockeying right now for the top corner conversation. I mean, Kool-Aid he's got him
long,
he's got him beat right now, but I mean, Kalen is nowhere near a slouch, and I would love to see that guy in Titans group.
Well, you go a little early for me, buddy. I mean, it's like the first week. We've seen 1 week of college football, and you're asking me who I want to draft.
I'm just asking, guys. I mean, because I've heard all the Keon Coleman. I've heard all of the Johnny, like Jake said, man. I've heard the Johnny. I can't think of his last name right now. You just said it.
Johnny Wilson.
Johnny Wilson. I've heard that. And who wouldn't want to have a 6'7", 230, 40-pound 4'4" guy? Who wouldn't want to have him?
I've actually now I know who you're talking about. Yeah, and I read a thing on him on Twitter earlier today, and they were basically saying, how do you stop a touchdown, or how do you guard a touchdown against him and Wiley? And I was like,
that was me.
that was Jake.
Was that you? Okay.
Yeah,
see, I'm reading your crap, man, or I'm reading your stuff, man.
Yeah, how you guard it is you hope they drop it.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, just pray to God that you can get your hand somewhere. They're going to jump like 22 feet in the air.
Because the mesh concept with those guys, or rub wrap those two guys, you're going to get a 5'10" guy on a 6'6" plus target, right? And the only thing that Malik or will have to do is like put it in the back pylon. And oh my God, I'm going to go like completely redo this big board.
Hey, he's got to clean up the drops. I mean, that's obvious.
Yeah, those are gimme routes.
He was fifth in the pack or ACC last season, but it was behind guys like Zay Flowers, and it was 5 NFL players. Yeah. So it's like, hey, drops aren't everything.
Not that bad. Yeah. All right. Well, guys, unless you have anything to add, I think we're going to wrap it up. I think we've had a great show today. I appreciate you coming on, Jake. If you want to tell everybody where they can find you at, brother.
Hey, check me out at Glory Day Sports on Twitter. Check me out for the really bad takes, and stay for the kindness that I'll pass you off after you insult me. So check it out, or check me out at gloryDaySports.com.
Yep, same. Check me out at C Griffey, DC Griffey. That's THE, the letters CGRIFFY on Instagram and on Twitter. I'm more active on Twitter. right? You can probably catch a thread of me and Jake going back and forth, sharing Titans news and other things, right? Also, catch me on the halftime show on Thursday night, 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Where we'll be talking about college football, of course, NFL Week 1, and a couple of other things, sports news from all around sports on this Thursday night. Definitely going to have to get these two guys on the show at some point during the season because this show was very fun. And I don't have any restrictions, so so no offense, Max. but definitely. Also, you can catch me here on Monday, whether I'm in the comment section or on the show. So always fun to be here.
And as always, and we always love to have you, to be honest, Cortland. You're like I said, you're an honorary co-host, man. Anytime you want to come on the show, all you gotta do is be like, hey, I'm gonna be here Monday. And to be honest, yeah, tonight was great. Jake, you ever want to come on again, just let me know, brother. And
hey, anytime.
We'll make it happen. Really appreciate it. Everybody, y'all know you can find me at Maximus Titan _Titan fan. Or I said that really wrong, but you know what I mean. It's right there written on your screen. You can find it on every social media platform. Titans Fan Battle Podcast. Please like, subscribe our YouTube channel. We're really trying to grow it. But we're also on TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere, basically. But come find us there and at fanbattlesports.com, where you can read and catch up on all your Titans news with mine and Tyler's blogs on there as well. We thank you for coming out and joining us tonight. Y'all have a great night. Peace.
Tighten up.